Checking In with Anthony and Glenn is brought to you by HD Supply.
It's Checking In with Anthony and Glenn, teaching you to be the hotelier that you wanna be. It's Checking In with Anthony and Glenn.
Anthony, man, what's up?
How you doing, brother?
Hey, I am doing so good today. It's exciting. I've been having a killer month, just traveling all around the country, talking to a lot of great hoteliers.
Who's your favorite?
You, but they're not here today.
Who's the favorite person you spoke to? Like, who's the person that stands out?
You can't ask me to make the Sophie's Choice of favorite hoteliers because then every other one is going to feel sad.
You're such a wimp.
No, I'm not a wimp. I'm very engaged in smart politics.
Okay, you're such a wimp. So I'm glad you had a good week.
Yeah, it was a really good week. It's been a few weeks. I've been all over the place, man. This week I was up at a casino, Turning Stone Casino in the middle of New York. You can hear some great interviews I did over there on the No Vacancy podcast this week. But more importantly, last week I was in Kentucky. I was in Austin. No, that was 2 weeks ago. Last week I was in Seattle. I've just been on a tear.
Austin's cool. Austin's like the non-Texas town.
Yeah.
It's like more like Chicago than it is like Texas.
And I got to tell you, Austin really just appeals to who I am and how I see myself through the world of music, through the world of food and beverage, and even politically.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, I always find it, I've been there just a couple times, but I find it very interesting. You wouldn't expect that town to be in Texas.
No, you would not, and it's very different. I also, every single time I talk about Austin, I can't help but talk about the bats that they have there. You know about the bats in Boston?
The what?
The bats.
Bats.
As in those flying mammals in the
No.
evening? Yeah, so get this. They've got this bridge. Forgetting the name of the bridge, it goes over a big river, and they had this older bridge, and these bats lived under it. So they rebuilt the bridge a number of years ago, and they actually built it so the bats would feel comfortable living under there. So for most of the year, these bats lived underneath this bridge in Austin. And then come sunset, the sun starts to go down. A couple of bats come out to go feeding, and then a few more bats come out, and then a few dozen bats come out, then a few hundred bats start to come out, and before you know it, there are hundreds of thousands, no exaggeration, hundreds of thousands of bats coming out from under this bridge and creating this giant black cloud swarm in the sky, and then they go off to feed and go off to eat dinner, and then they come home the next morning.
Holy hopping snot bat, man.
It was so awesome. It's one of those things that you go, damn, nature's amazing.
How long is that? How often does that go on?
I think it's like for 8 or 9 months of the year.
That's pretty cool. I haven't heard about that.
Yeah.
But thank you very much. I've done some traveling myself this week.
Yeah, to the emergency room?
No, that is not. I don't know where you got that. I don't know where you got that information. But
One of those bats told me.
But you actually just stole my thunder, brother.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't.
But
mean to
no,
be
I
any
actually what happened was I had a great week. I went to Albania to do a consulting gig for a great technology company out in Albania.
First of all, every time I hear the word Albania, I kind of think it's like Transylvania or something like that.
Albania is the sunniest country in Rome. I'm sorry, country in Rome. The sunniest country in Europe.
Right. Is it really?
The sunniest, 300
It's like
days a year.
I was about to say, it's the Colorado of Europe.
300 days a year of sun. Absolutely gorgeous. More modern than you would think.
Mm-hmm.
I stayed in a hotel called the Plaza in Tirana, and it was just as good as any 4.5-star hotel in America. It was lovely. People were lovely. Great culture. The food was insane.
Oh, yeah?
Better than the food I had in Rome. I hate to say it, but
That is insane right there. How could it be better?
It tasted like almost more like Sicilian food, just a lot more flavor, and there's a big Italian influence in Albania. It was just really fun. And then I was able to do a consulting gig in a hotel called the Adirondack Hotel in Albania, which is right on the ocean. Gorgeous. It's one of the legendary hotels in Albania, kind of like our Waldorf Astoria or our Plaza in New York City. And just great people, great family, real old world resort. Fantastic, right on the water. It was just an amazing trip. I was able to go to Rome to meet some of my to see some of my family again, meet my new niece, which was amazing. Then I hung out with my friend Luca, who's the driver every time I go to Italy, but he's really more my family friend now.
Right.
Fantastic guy. We had a lot of fun. Then I went to Rimini to do a Q&A, a couple Q&As at the hotel show in Rimini, which is called...
Where is Remini? The only one I know starred on that TV show a number of years ago, Leah Remini. So I don't know what city you're talking about there.
Oh, there he's trying to be funny again. About an hour and a half. It's about an hour and a half.
One day, I am going to get you to laugh so hard, you're going to injure yourself.
Good luck. About an hour and a half out of Rome, I believe. And just a really nice little town. I did something called Hospitality Day. They had a big event, and I did a couple of keynotes. Met the director of tourism for Italy, or the minister of tourism for Italy. Then that night, I drove to San Marino with a bunch of people from the tech company that I'm doing business with. And what do you know about San Marino?
Great olive oil.
Keep going.
That's it.
What is it? What is it? What is it?
I suppose it's a region.
It's a country within Italy. It's a country within Italy. It has its own prime minister, its own government, its own constitution.
Wow.
It's landlocked.
I had no idea. Like Lesotho in South Africa, which is a country stuck in the middle of South Africa.
Absolutely. Huh. And kind of like the Vatican, right? Yeah. And so we drove, there's no borders. We just drove in. We had
like
dinner.
Monaco. We're going to keep thinking of all these great little
So I drive in, and we did this really long walk up a mountain, and we finally got to this unbelievable restaurant, unbelievable views. And, I'm very fortunate that wherever I go, people kind of recognize who I am. So that's always feels great. But I don't know. I'm in San Marino. I'm on top of a mountain. It's 11 o'clock at night. The restaurant's like maybe 5 people in it. I walk in, and this gentleman in perfect English, he was the waiter, he goes, "Anthony Melchiorri, what are you doing here?" I was like, the show allows me to have the world is like a small town. It's like, I can't believe that on top of this mountain in San Marino that I didn't even know was a country in Italy, I thought it was a region in Italy, this gentleman not only knows the show, but said my name perfectly. I was just like, I felt very blessed at that moment. I was just like, that was really cool.
That is really cool. So what is that like? Because it's got to go vacillate between being cool, being weird, and sometimes just being uncomfortable.
Well, right now, I mean, the first time I was ever recognized, it was right before the show was about to kick in, and I was at the getting my shoe shined in Rockefeller Center, and people are looking in this window, and they're taking pictures, and it's a really famous shoe place in Rockefeller Center, so I just thought they were just taking pictures of the place. I don't know. But I was getting a little uncomfortable because I know the show, I was on every commercial for Travel Channel for like 6 weeks. So people started to recognize me, I guess. I hadn't been recognized at that point. And I walk up the stairs and I go, so I'm getting my shoe shine. I leave. I walk up the stairs. I go out into the plaza at Rockefeller Center.
Right.
I'm walking past Radio City Music Hall, and a young lady, she's about 10 feet away from me. She points in my face and she says, "I know you." And my reaction was, I pointed to her and said, "And I know you." And I just walked past her, but she looked shocked. Like, "You don't know who I am." And so I remember walking across 6th Avenue and literally almost walking into like music and a cloud and a dream. I was like, I will never be this light. My life will never be the same. So that was at first I wanted to throw up. It felt like I was going to throw up, but then I was like, my life will never be the same. It's kind of cool, right? And so, and that happens all the time, and it's great. But I just bring that up in San Marino because it was like a moment where I just didn't think, I didn't think anything. I was going to have a nice dinner, a nice wine. But the way he said it was almost like walking into your grandmother's house, and that you can be so far away from home, and someone says your name perfectly and greets you with such just pleasure and just welcome to my restaurant and welcome to San Marino. It was just really heartwarming. It was great.
All right, so let me get this straight. There's a famous shoe shine place
in Rockefeller Center.
Just kidding. That's got to be crazy, though, to be recognized in such a small place in the universe.
I was in Spain once, and a taxi driver literally almost killed all of us by pulling over the side of the road on the highway and jumped out and grabbed me out of the back seat and just started hugging me. So I'm very fortunate that way. But my point was, I was in 4 countries in 6 days, 6 cities in 6 days, And I felt like I was in a small town everywhere I went. It was fantastic. And then I went to Turkey. I went to Istanbul Airport.
Wow.
Have you ever been to the Istanbul Airport?
No, I've never been to Turkey, and it's a place that I've always wanted to go because it was one of the most democratic places in that part of the
It was
universe.
until
That's why I said was.
The current president.
And just
of Turkey.
the history of it, I know would be absolutely
Now,
amazing to see.
I've only been in the Turkish airport 3 times.
Right.
And so I was at Turkish Airlines, and I was in the business lounge. And the business lounge is maybe 40,000 square feet. It's ridiculous. It's got 3 floors. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. Anyway, but I had a layover of 9 hours. So
Oh, God.
So it was a 24-hour travel.
Do you
day.
go out of the airport?
No,
Or you just
no,
stay
because
there?
I'm always afraid that if I get into an accident or something happens, or I can't get back. I don't know. So
Right.
I say I never do. So I sat there. I had fun. It was a big place. There was a lot of food. I enjoyed myself, my friend. So I'm coming home.
Yeah.
I get home after a 24-hour travel day, after being in 4 countries, 6 cities, in 6 days. I feel like, hey, man, I knocked that out of the park.
Yeah.
I took care of all my responsibilities. It was great. I ran my business. I was feeling really good of myself, proud of myself. So my 3 girls happened to be home, 2 of my girls home from college.
You know what, Anthony? I think that this is the perfect time to take a commercial break because I feel a great end of this story coming along, and I want people to stick around after they hear our message. So just stick around. I'll be right back after this.
Hospitality professionals rely on HD Supply facilities and maintenance for the day-to-day maintenance of their engineering departments, housekeeping supplies, as well as their capital expenditure renovations. And why? Because they're reliable and they've been around for decades. They have over 100,000 products and they have a nationwide distribution system. They have an amazing dedicated sales representation force, and they have the tools, technology, and specialized services to make your hotel spectacular.
Hey everybody, Len here. So listen to this. Cobblestone Hotels is celebrating their 10th anniversary, and man, have they accomplished a lot in the last decade. Already they have more than 150 hotels throughout the United States, but they're in smaller and medium-sized markets. Those markets that the big franchise companies, they're underserving, they're overlooking, and in some cases just ignoring. But Cobblestone is an expert in these markets. And their president and CEO, Brian Wagernes, listen, I've gotten to know him in the last 10 years, and he has worked every job possible, including being an owner and operator. I can personally vouch for how awesome this company is, how awesome he is as an individual, because he understands the importance of finding the right combination of hotel brand and franchise owner. He's also an incredibly dedicated professional. Whether it's a Cobblestone Hotel and Suites Main Street design, Borders Inn and Suites, or one of the newly acquired brands such as Boulders Inn and Suites, Key West Inns, Centerstone Inns and Suites, Cobblestone has brands that range from economy to upper mid-tier, and one that's right for you. Quite simply, Cobblestone Hotels is the franchise for franchise owners. Patrick Mullenix, well, he's Cobblestone's new president of franchise development. Give him a call or check out their website at cobblestonefranchising.com. But give Patrick a call. He's a great guy. I've known him for a really, really long time, too. You can find him at 920-216-0620. That's cobblestonefranchising.com. And tell him Glenn sent you. All right, we're back. Thanks for being patient, and I really appreciate this the sponsors supporting our show. Anthony, please continue your story. You get home, 24 hours, 6 million different countries. You've been all over the universe. What happened next?
My girls are home. My wife's home. Everybody greets me at the door. Within 10 minutes, I see a picture. My wife, my brother-in-law, took a picture of the side of my home. There's a hole in my roof of my house, and the squirrels were eating this wood. There's only a little piece of wood on my house, and the squirrels got to it and were eating it, and the squirrels got into my HVAC system and started doing the Della on the in the HVAC system in my home. So that freaked me out. I was like, I know I'm traveling 24 hours. I know I'm tired, but whatever. So nobody's really paying attention. At this point, everybody's going in their separate ways. I go in the garage. I get a ladder. I decide to go up on the roof. I go up on the roof. I'm about 10 feet up in the air with nylon socks on.
That right there, great move.
So midnight, no sleep, nylon socks on. Did not put the ladder on properly. I am a safety guy. I'm all about ladder safety. Anytime I get on a ladder, I jump, I pull it, I make sure it's perfect before I climb on it. I get on the third step and I jump and make sure it's solid. Apparently, I didn't do that. I put it on an angle that shouldn't have been on.
Oh, boy.
I went up about 10 feet in the air, and as I was putting this piece of wood on the hole, and I don't know why I'm trying to trap the squirrels. I wasn't thinking. And the ladder falls.
And you're on the ladder.
Yes.
Or were on the ladder. I picture this being like a Looney Tunes cartoon where all of a sudden you're hanging there in space and you realize there is gravity.
That you know what? You couldn't have said it better. That's exactly what it felt like. I was like almost like my feet are going like, all right, wait, I can make that out of here. And since I don't fall a lot, and I don't trip, and I'm not unbalanced, and I've played every sport, and I've never broken a bone, and so I'm like, all right, the ladder fell, but I'm gonna grab something like this. I'm not falling 10 feet. This is all going through my head in a second. Apparently, gravity had its way. I fell 10 feet, but the problem was I fell on one leg.
Oh, God.
Straight onto my deck.
Oh, God.
And completely busted my ankle. Compound fracture. The EMT gets there. They're lovely people, great people, but I'm in so much pain they can't touch me. I won't let them touch me. So another EMT comes with the pain meds. They get me in the ambulance. They rush me into emergency surgery. But before I get into emergency surgery, the bone's sticking out. One bone's sticking out of my ankle. The other bone is broken like a wishbone, and there's like 3 or 4 bones that are just splintered off.
Oh, my God.
So this young gentleman, he looked like he was 12 years old, but he was a very competent doctor. He was a resident. He pulls my foot one way and my leg the other way. And I went, my wife said, and my best friend said, about 8 minutes of screaming and yelling the F word over and over, and the MF word over and over and over again. All I saw was black. The lights were on. Everybody was there, but all I saw was black. And I've never had more pain, and I'm sure people have listened to this, have felt that kind of pain. Every woman I tell the story to says, well, that sounds like childbirth to me. So I'm not saying that I was in the most pain that's ever happened, but it's the most pain that I've ever been in.
Right.
And the first thing I thought about was soldiers, the soldiers in war who get blown apart and their pieces of their body get blown apart. And they didn't have the comfort of people around them. They didn't have the comfort of the best doctors in the world around them. They're at a field somewhere, and then they're screaming for pain, not knowing if they're going to make it out of that field. And that's what went over in my head. I was just like, I don't know how people deal with this pain in those circumstances. So I didn't black out from the pain, thank God. But they wanted to get the bones right into my body before the medication really took off because the bone sticking out of your body is not good for an infection.
No.
So he pulled my foot one way, my leg the other way.
God, I think I'm going to black out just
literally
hearing this
shoved
story.
my bones into my leg, lined it up, put it back in. I had a second surgery the next day, and I was very lucky. Dr. Eagle, E-G-O-L, he is the vice chairman of orthopedic surgery for NYU Hospital. And the resident said he wrote the book. So when you say somebody wrote the book, it's like, Glenn's in the podcast business. He wrote the book on podcast.
Right.
Anthony's in the hotel business. He wrote the hotel book. No, but he really wrote the book.
Yeah.
Like if you go to medical school and you study orthopedics, he's the gentleman that wrote the book for orthopedic surgery.
So you could say he literally wrote the book.
Literally.
Which personally, to me, is I'm so glad that we can actually use the word literally correctly because I am part now of the English police, and I am pissed off when everyone says literally when they mean it the opposite way, and it really is driving me crazy, Anthony.
How do we go from Dr. Eagle to literally? All right.
I because I've been, it's honestly, Anthony, this has been troubling me for a while.
Glenn, there's a hell of a lot more trouble.
That and people spelling lose on Facebook Loose, like they don't know how to spell.
Kidding me?
Oh, all the time.
All right, can we get back to Dr. Eagle?
Dr. Eagle, E-G-O-L.
Okay, he's an amazing guy. He comes in 6 o'clock in the morning right before my surgery. There's like 10 other doctors around him, and they all look like, Jesus Christ just landed. He's apparently this really big shot doctor in New York, and I was just really fortunate that it was a Tuesday. I was fortunate that he thought it was bad enough that he should be operating on it, and he did my operation. So I had one of the best orthopedic surgeons in the world. That's one of the great things about living in New York, work on my foot, and he was just absolutely phenomenal. And so hopefully when the cast is off in 2 months, that'll look like what it's supposed to look like. and then I'll be hobbling around for 6 months on another cast that they'll put on. It's about a year before my foot's really back to normal because of a really bad injury.
Yeah.
But the reason I tell the story was, one, you thought I should tell it. I wasn't going to tell anyone.
I know, but I do think you should tell it.
I haven't even put it on social media.
Yeah.
But because I came home that week, and like we're both busy. We're busy people. We're very fortunate people, and I have busy weeks. I travel a lot. I do a lot of things, and I'm very fortunate. But like that week, I was like, I really shoved a lot in 1 week.
Yeah,
a lot of travel, a lot of hours. I worked 18, 19 hours a day, and I had to be on all the time. And I was so proud of myself. And I was like, I came home. I was like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna have a drink. I'm gonna chill. I'm gonna go to sleep. And I normally never drink at home. I drink when I go out to eat or something.
Same here.
So it's like I'm gonna have a drink. And I'm just going to chill, play a little maybe UFC on my computer game, and I'm going to go sleep. And instead, I made one of the dumbest decisions of my life to get on a ladder at 12 o'clock at night after traveling for so long, being so tired in nylon socks. And I'm not that guy, and I was that guy, and now I have to suffer with the consequences. So when you do something, you just have to suffer the consequences. And my daughter came to me the next day and she said, I'm really proud of you. I go, why? She goes, because you're handling this really, really well. I was like, she goes, I'm just really proud of you. I go, you're really proud that I got on the ladder and nylon socks and fell off in the middle of the night? She goes, no, but you got like a great attitude. And I was like, I'm an idiot. I fell off a ladder. Like, what am I supposed to do? Sit around and like feel sorry for myself?
Yeah, or blame others, right?
I was an idiot, and I made a mistake. And anyway, that's what happened. But we were supposed to talk about 5-star ratings. How did we get off on all these topics?
We were, but now I'm starting to think that maybe we should just talk about,
my injury.
No, not your injury. I see this now as a jumping off point. I think what's interesting to me is how you could recognize in yourself when you're about to make a poor decision, right? Not necessarily in the context of don't get up on a ladder in nylon, but I'm thinking about it. Are you listening to your internal being? I've spent 48 years on this earth, nearly, and I've learned over time that one of the things that we need to think about is listening to that inside voice. Malcolm Gladwell wrote the book Blink, and I think it really covers all of this. When you all of a sudden ideas come to your head, and I think you have this whole lifetime of experience, and your body is able and your brain is able to process information in a way that sometimes our conscious mind doesn't understand, but it makes perfect sense to the unconscious mind. And the issue that I see is that we have this internal voice inside, and do you listen to it or do you not listen to it? It's commonly known as the gut, right? It tells you what to do. And the only times I've ever truly effed up in my entire life is when I went against that internal voice that I had.
I had no internal voice talking to me. I just was freaked out that there was a hole in my house.
Right.
And my daughters were freaked out that there were squirrels dancing in the HVAC system. So I normally think, and I normally wear shoes. Even in the house, I wear slippers. I wear really heavy-duty slippers. And I wasn't thinking. It's one of the times where, like, there was nothing like, should I do this, shouldn't do this? It's like, there's a hole in my house. Got to put a board there. Then I can have my drink. Then I can go to sleep.
Right.
It wasn't like there was no, like, this is a really stupid thing to do. In retrospect, I was like, that was a really stupid thing to do. But typically, what is a gut? A gut is basically your experience, thousands and thousands of things have happened in your life, and your gut is just kind of replaying it, or your subconscious is replaying it.
It's building on your years of experience to create an answer for you, but you have to be tuned in enough to know that is the reality and the answer.
Well, I think when you're just very cognizant of who you are as a human, that your weaknesses, your strengths, what you want in your life, what you don't want in your life. And I think too many people want too many things, and too many people want to give too much because maybe they're insecure. I know what I want. I know what I don't want. I know who I like. I know who I don't like. I know I call bullshit instantly. My gut tells me, hey, you've been here before. I don't maybe remember being here before. I don't remember the instant where I was being here before. But your gut's like, hey, dude, you've been here before. Just get out of here. So I tell you this, I'll never get on the ladder the same way. I'll probably never get on the ladder again. I'll probably never get on the ladder again, because that moment when that ladder fell out from under me, I was like, I swear to God, you couldn't have said it any better. It was like a cartoon.
Right.
It was like, I was like, oh, ruh-roh, what do I do now? And it was like, I never want that. I never want that feeling again. But when I fell off the ladder, there was no pain. There was zero pain.
Right.
The pain only happened. Everybody runs out, and it's when the EMT got there, like 9 minutes later, and my bone is sticking through my sock. And they see it, and they realize they have to get me in the hospital really quickly, and they try to move my leg. And that's when I just, the F words just started ripping. I was like, you cannot, like, physically move me right now. So I never want to ever feel that pain again, and I never want to feel that. I felt very powerless when that ladder fell out. But getting back to your gut, you have to just, it's cliche, just trust your instinct. The worst thing that can happen if you trust your instinct is that you were wrong. And then that goes back into the computer.
Right.
And it kind of changes things. And so, okay, my gut was wrong. So now you're going to have a curve on that, right? You're going to have a little 10% change in that. And so the next time you're in that situation, you're like, your gut's going to be, it's going to have that information in it. And it's going to maybe make a more positive decision. So I think, and even when we do the show, the first take's always the best take. As soon as I walk into a room and I react to it, and if they didn't,
and you're speaking of Hotel Impossible, not this one.
Right, Hotel Impossible. You go into a room and they're like, "Oh, the light wasn't right, the camera wasn't right. Can we just walk in that room again?" I was like, "Yeah, I can, but it's not going to be as good because it was. So my instincts are always usually right."
Right, it's so true. One of the things that I do is I'm fortunate enough. I host a lot of conferences and events around the country throughout the year, moderating panels, and my job is to bring out the best that I can for all of the speakers that are being featured within that presentation. A lot of times that you go to these industry conferences, they want you to have a phone call or a meeting ahead of time with everybody on the panel, and I learned early on that everybody gives their best performance on a phone call if they're all together, and they wind up hosting the panel, and then you get to the panel, even if it's a month or two later, it's just dead energy up there. So I do a lot of fighting now to make sure that nobody is overly prepared, because when you're too prepared, it winds up destroying the entertainment aspect of it.
You're not going from your gut. And
Right.
I agree. I've been on those panels, and most of them just suck my energy dry. And but so anyway, when I think about it, I've been thinking about young kids, students, college students a lot lately, and when you're in school, especially when we were growing up, the teacher was God. I mean, the teacher said something was right. So you always felt like, oh, somebody else had more knowledge and more power than you do.
Right.
And then as you get older, you're always looking for someone to kind of influence you and direct you. And the advice I'll just give to people is that if you're passionate and you love something and you believe in something, just do it. And you're going to make a mistake. You're going to fail. You're going to screw up. You're going to trip. You're going to do it all. And it's going to be miserable. And you may even go bankrupt once or twice or three times, or you may grow up with a ball and cry, and you may go on antidepressants. Who knows? It's going to be a shit show sometimes.
You're making it sound very appealing.
But you know what? It is appealing. But I'll tell you why. Because when you get on the other side, because eventually, if you keep moving, you're going to get on the other side, and it's so much better than working with someone that you don't like or working in a company you don't like. And now, because of technology, I think kids have so much more ability to be entrepreneurs and trust their gut and trust. Like, I was born to do music. I know somebody that I'm close to that is an extraordinarily smart kid, about to go to college, and he can be a doctor. He can be anything he wants. He's one of the smartest people in the school and just one of the smartest people I've ever met. But he wants to be a singer. And he's going to hopefully follow that passion. He's going to be a great singer. And hopefully he'll be very, very successful. Is it a little bit more scary than just going to medical school and fighting that fight because you have the brain power to do it?
Right.
Sure. Or going to, learning how to code? Sure. But there's no doubt in my mind the kid's going to be extraordinarily successful because he's going to trust his gut, and he's going to realize how scared he is, and his talent's going to bring him over the wall. And I think that's really, so when we talk about gut, you're not just talking about trusting your instincts. You're talking about by trusting your instinct, what does that get you? It gets you control. Right. It gets you control of your happiness. Because if you trust your gut and you're wrong, you can live with that. if you don't trust your gut and someone else tells you what to do and you do it and it's wrong, what do you say?
Right.
I should listen to my gut.
Exactly. You always say that. There's no other way around it. But I think that the trick that each and every one of us has to do in this great journey of life is to learn how to trust that gut and learn the instinct that just because somebody that's older or has a higher titled position than you might have, you have to realize that they are not always right. And you have to recognize that when you recognize that they're not always right, to internalize that and make the proper decisions within that context. Too many times we have the opportunity to just sit back and allow things to happen to us because we've created this false sense of trust that because somebody's earned a position, that they're smarter than us, they have a better instinct than us, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff.
And the only way to really get to the point where you trust your gut is failure. You have to fail. You have to go against your gut sometimes. Listen, the only way to success, the only road to success is a lot of failure. I mean, just because I've been fortunate in my life where I've had a little bit of failure, but not a lot. But that little bit of failure was a lot to me, because it was so severe. It was so significant to me. It could be a little thing in school. It could have been whatever it was on the playground. But whatever it was enough to motivate me to never let anybody control me in my life. So when I say a lot of failure, it should say it better by saying significant failure. That kind of changes your being. And I don't know too many people. I don't know anyone that's been really successful without getting kicked in the head. And if you go against your instinct, then just use that next time to really make a better decision. I've never, ever taken anybody's opinion that was better than mine. Never. And it sounds arrogant and sounds cocky, but it's true. I've never said, what's your advice for my business, for investing in stocks, investing in myself, investing in marketing, And I'm not talking about meetings. I'm not talking about having smart people around me. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about when my gut's telling me to do something and I know it's the right thing to do and I'm like, I'm doing this and somebody else says, well, maybe you should do this. One, I've never really listened to anybody. I've always trusted my gut. But my gut's been correct. I will tell you one thing where my gut was wrong, actually. It just happened yesterday. You were involved. I was doing a Q&A up in Turning Stone Casino, and I was the keynote for lunch. And check was in the mail, as they say, and the contract was done, and I had to show up, and I had to do a Q&A, and I was going up with a broken ankle, and I'm in a lot of pain all the time, and I'm on a lot of medication all the time, but I'm still going.
No wonder why you're so much fun today.
So I'm like, I'm still going, right? So everybody thinks I'm out of my mind. My doctor said, listen, I'm not doing surgery again if you go because you can't get me in the car for 5 hours each way. Everybody was against me.
Right.
But a friend of mine who's chief anesthesiologist at Lutheran, Lance Wagner, texted me, and he simply said, can't you Skype? Like, this is not smart. And he's a very nice guy that doesn't really kind of tell you what to do. And I was like, well, everybody's against me now. Lance, who doesn't usually, he's not a guy that kind of says things like that. And I was like, all right, I think they got me. So anyway, I Skyped. You were in the room on the other side.
I was in the room.
And I was in my suit. People couldn't see I had sweatpants on.
No.
And a cast.
Yep.
And I propped my leg up on my desk, and no one knew that I was kind of injured.
One of the greatest performances that I've ever seen. You brought so much energy to it and enthusiasm to it, and nobody could tell that you were in insane amounts of pain.
And so I did go against my instinct. I went against my instinct. Was like, I got to get up there. I got to be true to my word. I got to be true to the contract. I got to deal with the pain. I got to deal with peeing in the back of somebody's car in a container. I got to do whatever I got to do, but I got to get there. And it was the one time in a long time that I've actually listened to somebody else's advice about my career. And he was right and I was wrong, because that would have been a very difficult thing for me to recover from, because 10 hours with my foot being the way it is would have been a bad decision. So I normally don't take people's advice, but in that instance I did.
Yeah. And I think that just to sum this all up is that you really do have to trust the internal mechanisms that have been there your entire life in order to make some of those critical decisions in your life. I'll give you one example. Everybody that was important to me in my life at one point, a particular point, was when I was deciding whether or not to leave a well-paying job with a sense of security to do something foolish as start my own business. But I knew inside everything was pointing in the direction that I had to absolutely go ahead and make that move. For if I didn't make that move, I was going to pay the emotional price for it for the rest of my life. And it became an issue of me then having to not just trust my gut, to just go with it and know that it would lead me down the right path, even in the sense of adversity from those people that mean everything in my life saying, don't do it, you shouldn't do it, you can't do it. But I spent a year convincing them that I was right, and then I did it. And thank goodness I did, because now I get to do this awesome podcast with you twice every week.
I think every kid that wants to be an entrepreneur couldn't have been born into a better, decade or better era. And I really believe that in our country, college is really important, but I think it's overrated. I think there's a lot of trades. Like if you want to start your own plumbing business or your electrical business or any business, if you want to be a woodworker, there's so many great trades to be involved in where you don't have to go to college. And there's so many, and if you don't want to join a union, you don't want to be part of a corporation, if you want to be a plumber, there's so many ways to start a business, to be a plumber, to be successful, or an electrician, or if you want to get your drawings out there. So to me now, like, I'm really preaching entrepreneurship more than I've ever preached it in my life, because there's so many opportunities. Come up with the idea. Make sure you have the talent to do what you say you're going to do. Make sure you have the work ethic.
Right. Don't have a sense of false bravado and thinking you're going to be successful if you're only mediocre.
Right. If you're mediocre, go get a job. But if you have passion, even if you're mediocre, you'll be successful.
Agreed.
I've seen a lot of mediocre people with passion.
Oh yeah, right. Passion and tenacity and wherewithal.
I said it before, and I'll say it again. You outwork me today, you're going to regret that tomorrow. So even like yesterday, I was like, I got to get there. It's like, thank God somebody was smarter than me and said, hey, dude, take a chill. But my point being is, technology today is built for entrepreneurship. The technology today is built for individuals. The technology today is so empowering. Like, look at us. We're doing this podcast, and in an hour it could be up, and it could be, everybody could be listening to it around the world. And 30 years ago, we couldn't have our own radio show.
No.
30 years ago, we didn't have the technology to do that. So it's out there if you have the passion. But again, getting back to trust your gut. What's the worst thing can happen? You can be back in the situation you're in now.
Yeah. That's right. And there's nothing to be ashamed of if it doesn't work out.
You said a really important word.
Yeah.
You just really said a word that I have a problem with. It's shame. Right? It's nothing to be ashamed of. We're all shamed by failure and all shamed.
We shouldn't be. We should celebrate it more.
And I wish we could. I wish I could. I don't.
That's a good point.
If something happens I don't like, if something I'm feeling like, hey man, that didn't go the way I wanted, and maybe I didn't have, my business is not going the way I wanted, or whatever. And thank God it is. But if it wasn't, and sometimes it hasn't, I just keep working. I don't acknowledge that it's not, because I don't want to be shamed. I don't want somebody to say, oh, what happened, Anthony? You all right?
Right.
Like, I don't want a fucking pity party. Like, I don't like pity. I don't. So that's a really good word, especially. And I'm just talking from being a man, because I don't know. I'm not a female, so I really can't talk about females. But I know from a man's perspective, I think we have this sense of everything's okay all the time, and we'll figure it out. And then we go into these dark places that we spoke before.
Right.
So I think shame is a really important word. But you have to overcome that. And the great thing about shame is you don't have to talk about it. So you don't have to talk about your failure. So if you did something that didn't work out, don't tell nobody. Shut up.
Yeah.
Make your own dreams. Make your own goals. Write them down, and then kick ass, and then pat yourself on the back, and then go to sleep and do it again. What happens is people say, hey, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and then they fail. Now they're shamed, right? So now they're embarrassed. Don't tell anybody.
Right. And the only way you should feel shame internally is if you didn't give it your best effort. If you half-assed it, sure, you should feel upset with yourself. But if you gave it your all and you tried your hardest and you worked your ass off, then there's nothing to feel sorry about.
You know, when I see like the MMA fighters, as we said before, I'm a big MMA fan, I see how much work they put into it and how much time they put into it and how they craft their body and their energy and their nutrition and they go out there and they get their butt kicked and somebody would say, oh, look, he got knocked out in the first round. I was like, yeah, hey, dude, why don't you put the pizza down, the beer down, and why don't you go do what they do and then put yourself in a cage with another animal and see how you do. So the work is what people admire. It's not the success, it's the work. If you put the work in, even if it doesn't pay off, because when people say, well, it'll eventually pay off, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. Shit happens.
Yeah.
And maybe you have to do it again. And maybe you have to do something else. Maybe you want to be a florist and you just suck at designing flowers and you realize that, halfway in, all right, that didn't work. Go do something else. But it's the work. There's so many people in my area, in my neighborhood, whether it be Jimmy at the restaurant who's 75 years old. He works his ass off. He's in there at 6 o'clock in the morning. He's there till 10 o'clock at night,
Wow.
7 days a week, works like an animal. Or at the Joyce at the sushi place that I go to every week. She's amazing. She works and she works and she works. Or the grocery store I go to, this beautiful Korean family. There's 3 families in there. And I'm going to do a thesis one day on this grocery store. Nothing is ever dusty. Nothing is ever expired. Everything is clean. The service is always good. You get in and out no matter how long the line is. On 4th of July, they sold 1,200 bags of ice, and you never waited a second to see if there's more ice in the back. The ice was always filled. They went through cases and cases and cases and cases of beer. There was always the refrigerator stocked. I just admire, love, and worship people who work really, really hard because there's no effing secret.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's a lesson to take away today. Trust your gut, work hard, be tenacious, fight the good fight, and if it doesn't work out for you, don't feel that shame. Figure out what went wrong and try again.
And really, shut up.
Yeah.
Like, nobody cares. Just shut up.
Yeah, nothing personal.
Yeah,
Nobody cares. We're all consumed with our
right,
own stuff.
Right. Talk to your best friend. Talk to your wife, your husband, whatever. But no one gives a shit. Don't go on Facebook and social media and try to blame people or talk about it. Go to your therapist. Do what you need to do with close associates because everybody else is glad it wasn't them.
Right. Man, I think this worked out much better. And we will talk about, in a future show, we'll talk about the rating systems because I do think that's a great idea. But I think this wound up being really good. So yeah.
Can we title this show right now?
Sure.
What's the title for the show?
Don't be a pussy. Trust your gut.
Anthony's an ass. He fell off a ladder.
I was going to call it Anthony Gets Hurt, but
Man down.
Yeah, man down. I like that one.
Man down.
All right, so you guys will see the title. You already saw the title. You know what we came up with. But before we wrap up, Anthony, tell me something I don't know.
You don't know that Rimini, Italy, which is about an hour out of Rome, is a cute little sea town where there are more luxury resorts and more luxury homes than almost any place in Europe.
Wow.
And it doesn't look like that. It doesn't look like a 5-star town. It's a nice little town. It almost looks like a upgraded Myrtle Beach. But really just a cool little town, little cool shops, and just really, really cool people. And the convention center that is really world-class convention center.
Cool. Awesome.
So, Glenn, tell me something we don't know.
All right, I'll tell you something. One time I had a job and I got fired. We all get fired from a job at least once in our lives, but I did feel shame when I got fired, and I deservedly so felt the shame because when I really evaluated why I got fired, they were right to do it because I didn't learn. I didn't put all the effort into it. I didn't rise to the challenges that were happening. Promises were made to me that didn't come to fruition, but it's still my fault because I didn't work within the rules that changed. I should have known better, but I was young, I was insecure, and I was a dumbass.
That's a really good point. when people say these are things that are going to happen and they don't happen, it's so funny you said it because that's happened in my career.
I just
early
retreated.
on. Yeah, and I resent people because you said this was going to happen. And you know what? It's taken. You just said something I've never thought about before. In my entire career, that's happened to me in the beginning of my career several times, and I never realized that I got good at understanding that people are full of shit and they're going to lie to me to get me aboard. And when things do change, so what?
Right.
Just deal with it, overcome it, and do a great job anyway, and then never leave burning a bridge. So that's, I think, really good advice for young people.
Yeah, I think so too. So, Anthony, how could you find you? How could we find you?
You can find me at Anthony Hotels everywhere you want to be on social media.
Beautiful. And I'm at Traveling Glenn. Same thing everywhere on social media. And be sure to share this show with friends. Give us a 5-star rating on iTunes. It really helps us out there. Maybe leave a review or something like that because we really want to be able to share our knowledge and insight with other folks just like you around the world. So I want to thank you all for listening today. And thanks for checking in.
It's Checking In with Anthony and Glenn, teaching you to be the hotelier that you wanna be. It's Checking In with Anthony and Glenn.